I've been running a cold email lead generation agency for the past 2.5 years. And within those 2.5 years, I've sent millions of cold emails, gotten pretty nice results for our clients as well, generated 28% of all closed deals for a B2B SaaS client of mine. And that was just in 2025 alone. And then we also had this consulting firm who we've helped book 180 plus meeting ready leads per month by sending out 1.6 million emails a month for them. And before I did any of that, I was really shitty at following up with people. And now after sending out this many emails, I feel like I've gotten a grasp of how following up works, especially with cold prospects, which is why in this video, I want to show you exactly why most of my follow-ups failed before I learned throughout the years, what you actually need to send to people to get a response, and then how to hard close them for a meeting once they finally respond to you, right? So follow-ups. Why most follow-ups are trash, cold follow-ups, warm follow-ups. So let's get straight into it with the first point. So we're going to scroll down and there we go. So point number one, why most people's follow-ups fail. Now, usually it's a volume problem. And now I'm talking specifically about warm follow-ups. And warm follow-ups is basically every follow-up that you do after they already positively responded to your initial outreach message, right? So we're not talking to completely cold prospect. For those, I have a very separate thing, and I'm going to cover that in point number two. But usually when you do warm follow-up, a lot of people just check in. That's what I've been doing in the past, completely desperate. It's completely free of value, really doesn't help anyone, really doesn't. Which is why I came up with the rule that basically every single touch needs a reason to exist. If it doesn't provide value of some sort, doesn't give them more proof that you're actually capable of delivering on the promise that you made in the initial outreach, or doesn't provide more actual hands-on value, it shouldn't exist. You shouldn't send it out. It doesn't really add to the entire situation. It rather almost subtracts, right? So for that reason, we need to make sure that we follow up a lot and that we follow up with things that are actually valuable. And we're going to cover that in a second. And you're going to see that as well in the free resource and the free document that I've linked in the description down below, where I share the 5-stage sequence with follow-up templates for you. Check that out. You will see what I mean if you got the document. But in essence, cold and warm require completely different approaches. So let's cover cold for a second. And again, yeah, 5 templates, how to use them, description down below. You just load them into your cold email tool today, and then you can use. Now, point number two, follow up with cold prospects. Now, this is before they have actually responded to your outreach message. In this case, don't overthink it at all. Like, you don't want to overthink this at all because it is usually completely free of value. It's mostly meaningless. You just reach out to the next person. We don't want to have stages. We don't want to have like sequences with 6 stages where you follow up from different angles every single time. Then you open up a new thread and you do this, you do that. We don't want to do that because that's gonna it's the most sure way of getting marked as spam. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to just reach out to the next person. At max, send them one follow-up. And the usual follow-up that you can do is literally like, you would basically have your, what happened? Okay. You would usually have a sequence that looks like this, right? You have like 4 lines and this is your, I don't know why this is so thin. Let me make this thicker. There you go. You would have like 4 lines and this is your email, right? Bam, 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 bam. This is your first email, number 1, first. For the follow-up to that, you would literally just take the exact same thing, right? You would take the exact same thing, but instead of having 4 lines, you just remove the first one. So you only have lines 2, 3, and 4. You remove the first one. And the first one is usually, hey, first name, are you also experiencing X, Y, and Z pain point? Because you already asked that. Like, you go straight into the offer and social proof and then the CTA. Now, if you don't know exactly how I even came up with this framework right now, I will link a video in the top right corner, right here, where you can check out a video where I tell you exactly how to write killer cold email sequences. Click it already, watch it after this video. Very important to understand what I'm talking about right here. But essentially what you're doing is from that killer outreach sequence that we've covered in a different video, you just delete the first line and then you move on to the second email in this sequence. And that's basically it. Like, this is your complete cold email follow-up sequence. You don't want to do more than that because, again, the probability of you getting marked as spam after stage 6, ultra high. And all the while, the follow-up performance goes down drastically. Like, the response rates from here to there are literally minus 30%. As opposed to or compared to reaching out to the next person, right? Reaching out to the next person gets you 30% more responses, which is quite wild. Meaning, if you get 1% response rates for your first follow-up, you would get 0.7% to your second follow-up. So you could just reach out to the next person, keep the 1%, right? That's how actually, like, how important this is. So with that said, that's cold follow-up. I don't want to cover it too much because it's pretty simple. It's mostly meaningless. So this is that, right? So let's move on to point number 3, which is warm follow-ups, which is after they actually positively responded, right? So positive plus. What you want to do is you want to be fast. Like, you want to be fast. Within 5 minutes, call them, text them back, do whatever you need to do to reach back out to them, right? Whatever you prefer. But you need to be quick. Like, you need to be extremely quick. And you need to always close hard for the next step in the sequence, which is going to be a meeting, most likely, provided if, right? If you're not just sending a value email. So in the document that you can find in the description down below, where I share the 5 email templates, the follow-up templates, right? You will find out that a couple of these are just like pure value. We just send a valuable thing over. We don't have any CTA on these at all. This is just to build trust, just to send something nice over to them, right? That's the main purpose of them. If you're sending something like that, which is just a value email, you don't want to hard close at all. But if you're asking for a meeting, you're going to ask for a meeting, and you're going to ask it in a very, very extreme way. I say extreme because most people just say, hey, checking in, for no fucking reason, right? You don't want to do that. Like, don't go half. Don't go half. There's a normal distribution for this stuff, right? So you have all the chats on this side of the spectrum and this side of the spectrum. If this is IQ on the x-axis, right? If this is IQ, this is where you have the high IQ people, like 140 IQ. This is where you have the straight 100 IQ. And this is where you get like extremely moronic with 45 IQ. These people and these people come to the same conclusion. If I'm going to ask for a meeting, I'm going to make the ask, right? That was a terrible circle. I'm going to make the ask. The people in the middle overthink a lot. They talk a lot. They think even more. They keep thinking, only to come to the conclusion to say, just checking in, bro. Makes zero sense. If you want to make the ask, you make the ask. If you want to provide value, you provide value. Don't do something in between. Don't do that. Do not do that. My old football coach actually said to our goalkeeper back then, we had a very weird, like, this is a slight tangent, but it's going to explain the story as well, or the entire rule. We had a situation during the football game where there was no one left from the defenders while the opposing team was trying to storm over to our goal, right? Now, our goalkeeper was the last man standing, and there was their striker just running full pace towards our goalkeeper. And what our goalkeeper did was, he thought, I'm going to stay in the right at the goal, right? I'm going to stay right here. And then in the middle of thinking that, he ran 15 meters forward for no reason. And then he was like, I'm going to attack this guy fully. And then he stopped, and then he walked back. What happened was pretty obvious. We absolutely got obliterated. The striker scored, and that was it. And my coach said, I never want to see something like this ever again. Either you decide that you want to stay at the goalposts, or you storm out like your life depends on it, and you actually tackle the guy, take the ball off of him, and clear up the situation. You don't want to be in the middle. Like, you don't want to be here. Being here is the worst decision ever in life. Ask people directly. And now I'm emphasizing this point, and I also told the story for a second, because a lot of people in sales get lost right here. They just get lost. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best I'm Jordan Belfort or whatever, but I do realize that every single time that I've been in this category of human, or of human being, or of human performance, my performance has suffered, because you just start overthinking like crazy. You don't want to do this. You want to Chad ram. And Chad ram, this is a very important word, Chad ram, right? You want to be the Chad that absolutely rams everything. If you want to provide value, you provide value. If you want to close hard for the next step, you close hard. And you will see in the templates that I'm closing hard in these follow-up templates. So this is very important. You need to keep that in mind. This is going to help you a lot, especially with cold traffic. With cold traffic, you need to pull your prospect through the sales motion. You need to pull them. You can't just like leave them there. They're too cold for that. You need to absolutely pull them by their arm. Otherwise, they will not move forward. Why would they? They don't know you. You're nobody, essentially. Right? Which is also why it's important to have a lot of content on the internet. But that's a different point. Let's get back to this video. So with all of these follow-ups, it is extremely important that you also personalize them. And with personalized, I actually chose the wrong word here. It's more relevance, right? We want to be relevant. You don't want to have, especially if you run high volume cold email campaigns, you don't want to have every single thing personalized. You want to do it manually. I wouldn't recommend it. So make it relevant. Meaning, if you reach out to B2B SaaS businesses, it makes a lot of sense to have case studies of other B2B SaaS businesses in the subsequence where you respond or where you follow up with all the leads that you generated with that campaign, right? Because guaranteed, if you only had B2B SaaS campaigns in the initial cold outreach campaign and you now get positive responses out of that, so let me actually make this visualized instead of using my hand. So you have a B2B SaaS campaign, right? SaaS. And you get positive responses, which is awesome, right? And now you want to follow up with them to then book a meeting, right? These are follow-ups, 1, 2, 3, etc. To book a meeting, the meeting is going to be this 17 because that's usually what the calendar icon says. So you want to get them on a meeting, right? You want to make sure that the case study that you use in email 3 or in email 1 is absolutely relevant to the niche that you're reaching out to. You don't want to have a SaaS business in your follow-up sequence and then send them a consulting firm case study to get them to book a meeting. That doesn't make any sense. So you just make it personalized / relevant. Very important. It's the small things, really. Like, this sounds blatantly obvious, I believe, but it is the small thing. So we need to make sure that this is dialed in. Now, next one, if they completely ghost you, for whatever reason, let's say you've taken them through the 5-stage sequence. It's actually 5 stages, right? Let's say you've taken them through the 5-stage sequence. If they went cold, just have a low friction re-entry. This could be your 6th one, actually. Like, you could literally have the 6th one, and it's simply one sentence. It's easy to respond to. Meaning, you just ask them, hey, are you still looking for main benefits? Done. And you ask them that after 90 days or something. Done. That's literally it. I wish this was more fancy, but this is literally it. Now, with all of that said, if you're a B2B SaaS business, or consulting firm or an agency, and you want all of this done for you because you can't be bothered with figuring all of this out on your own, we run cold email end-to-end for high-ticket B2B SaaS plus consulting plus agency. And you only pay per qualified call that shows, meaning there's no retainers and we start within 24 hours. It's the first link in the description. Check it out right now. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.